Welcome back to the America's Home Expert Podcast. I'm Steve, and with me as always is my partner John, and this is the show where we connect homeowners with the contractors who actually stand behind their work. Today's guest is Leon, owner of My Quality Construction, a company built around one simple idea: do the job right and treat people right. Leon and his team specialize in protecting homes from the outside in, roofing, siding, and exterior improvements designed for real-world weather, real families, and real long-term value. In this episode, we're going to talk about what homeowners should look for before they hire a contractor, how to spot red flags, and what actually separates a quality company from a cheap quote.
Leon, thanks so much for coming on the podcast today, man.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So tell our listeners a little bit about My Quality Construction and what you guys do.
We do a little bit of everything. A lot of multi-unit homes is what I run. We also have a roofing department, interior basement department, along with hardy siding, vinyl siding, windows, doors. The main part of what I do is mostly condos. We have several sites. We do wood replacement, painting.
How did you get started in this industry?
I started off at 13 on the roof with my father and my uncles.
Wait, 13? You were doing this on the roof?
Yeah, every weekend. Every weekend I was on the roofs doing the roofs, and I have an uncle that's a carpenter, and sort of passed around in family for years until I got of age of figuring it out myself, and I've grown into several different other things in construction. Went from the roofing into the siding for years, doing siding and windows, and then a lot into the carpentry now with the condominiums. It's a every year thing, just replacing wood, doing hardy board, switching over my complexes from pine and cardboard to more Meritech and cement siding. Okay. I've been leaning towards that. I do a lot of board meetings and stuff like that.
I want to talk about when we met, you told me a story of how you were working for someone else for 20 plus years. And it came to the point where you were just realized it was time to branch off on your own and do it the right way. Can you kind of go over that history for us?
Yeah. Started working for another company, and it was mainly condominiums, and I was roofing for the guy, and which took me into condos. We never want to give anything away to anybody, so once you have a relationship with the condominiums, they trust you, kind of a deal. I'm involved in a lot of different communities throughout the years, going to board meetings and learning how to negotiate and do these board meetings. I realized that after, once I hit a certain age, I'm just like, I got to do this for myself. I know what customer service is. I know how to make a customer happy. I know what people are expecting. And it wasn't all done through, I'm Mr. Perfect off the get. It was a long road of mistakes and not wanting to make those mistakes again. So I do take a lot of pride in my whatever I'm doing. We're doing a lot of siding right now at one of the complexes, but I'm very everything has to look the same. You have to treat people with respect. Respect their areas. And respect their everything around it has to be. I try to preach it to my guys constantly. Dressing nice, not having loud, not cussing, not swearing. And not saying that every one of them are perfect and it doesn't happen, but, accountability is held with me and a standard of quality.
You talk a lot about understanding what homeowners, can expect when they see you. What are some mistakes you see that homeowners make when they're choosing a company for roofing or siding or projects in that manner?
Roofing goes on one way. Mistakes are made. And I really feel that management of the job is just as important, and being available to that customer while the job's being installed. So when there is problems that come about, that they have that number to call, and that you're showing up there once, twice a day, making sure that the ground is clean, making sure that most people don't even. a lot of people think that, a roof is a roof, and it really is. I mean, people, that we put the roof on the same way that everybody else does. But if you crush their flowers and you leave debris and garbage all over the place, and you're cussing and swearing, and your music is loud and you're rude, it just doesn't, it just doesn't work that way. You have to respect everybody's property, and try to give them as much accountability right away. Learning another thing I learned: when you do make a mistake, you don't run from it. You don't hide. You stand right in front of them and you deal with the problem. I think that's why I have 4.5, 5 stars most of the time, is because the customer is important. Because then the next job, the next door neighbor, down the street, their cousin, their brother, they're not going to hire you. They want somebody that's going to be there to be accountable. I mean, like I said, mistakes are made, but being accountable and making it right for that customer is more important than anything else. So,
we talk a lot about on this show Michigan weather and how it changes, and how in the winter, like tomorrow, weather is going to be negative 11 degrees, and in the summer it could hit up to in the hundreds. So it's tough. How do you explain that to a customer who's looking to get a quality roof?
We don't do much roofing in the winter. I mean, if it's an emergency situation, then of course, we do it. I really prefer a roof when the temperature's right for the shingles to seal. And I seen a company. I was driving through my neighborhood, and I seen a company. They were out there, and they had the headlights out, and they had, it must have been some kind of an emergency situation. But not many roofs are done when it's 30 degrees. When it's 100 degrees. There's proper moments to stop and to explain to that customer that I'm ruining the shingles because I'm kneeling on them and they're scuffing and they're melting beneath my feet, and then maybe you ought to get there a little bit earlier, and you should work until, it gets hot, and then explain to them that this is important, that we're not damaging the product as we're putting it on there, and it's not going to blow off after we put it on in the wintertime. So
yeah, I guess the common theme here is just communication with the customer and making sure that they're aware of what's going on at all times in the job, and giving him your phone number, and they can get a hold of you if anything comes up. I think that's very important. That's definitely what makes you guys stand out, I think.
For sure. I had a customer in Troy. I didn't do his roof. Somebody else did it. It was high priced. And, now the guy's asking me for legal advice. And I told him I'm really not a lawyer, but I'll tell you what happens with me when I mess up. And it's all about, you start giving the money back or you make it right. So, I tried to give him a little bit of advice. He's a nice old guy. The price that he paid was probably triple on what I charge. He probably paid $19,000 for a 20 square roof, which is ridiculous in my mind. I do keep my pricing sensible and affordable, for the community. It's definitely not a fly by night, 2 guys in a truck, and I'm not the cheapest price, but gouging on one job, and it comes back and bites you later, because they're talking to everybody about it, and everything is so available online. You can, AI, and you can Google what a job should cost, and you got that realm. And if you're, $10,000 or $5,000 more than what that says, I mean, eventually they're just gonna, they're gonna be very disappointed, and you're not gonna get very many reviews. So, price point is important. Managing job is important, and accountability.
Right, absolutely, and you got it. You got it locked down. Take me through the process when a homeowner calls and says, "Leon, my roof is leaking. I got water coming through the ceiling." What's the first step? Walk us through your process from inspection to solution.
I get up and inspect it. If it's something that that's an immediate leak, I'll try to put a tarp on, or I'll do a temporary fix for them, no charge. Then if they sign with me, great. If they don't, but when I give my estimates, I have no problem getting up there. Neither does my guys. If it's something simple like throwing a tarp on, usually I absorb it. I tell them I'll absorb it into the price of the job. This is your price. I sit down, I explain to them how many layers they have, explain to them that I don't do relays. I don't go over shingles. It voids the warranty on the shingles. I try to sell a good product at a good install price. I explained to them that it's going to be messy, and I explained to them having the right equipment to do that job. Today's technology with equiptors and gutter guards on the equiptors, and being able to catch that garbage before it hits the ground, and magnets and cleanup, and I ice and water shield in the valleys and the proper places for the size of the overhang. And I do explain to them that the attic should be inspected for proper ventilation. You can put ridge vent on all the venting you want, but if you don't have an intake at the bottom, then your roof is heating up and getting ice dams. So I try to go through the whole realm of what could happen and what's happening with your roof now. If people are having ice dam problems, chances are they need baffles, insulation, and venting on the soffit areas.
And that's stuff you could take care of as well.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
What are the signs when someone calls you and says, I've got a problem, I think, with my roof? What is the sign between a repair versus a full replacement?
Usually it's granule loss. Curling of the shingles. If I climb up there and the gutters have a lot of granule in it, and then you look at the shingles and see that, that's a sign of curling of the shingles. That's a sign that it needs to be replaced. If the roof's still flat, the shingles look good, then I have no problem doing a repair. As long as the repair is a match to the roof. Die lot problems and stuff. A lot of people don't care about that. But I'm definitely not there to just to sell them something they don't need. They need a repair. They need a valley repair. I have no problem doing the valley repairs. I have no problem putting vents in, and then giving them a warranty on it. I give the condominiums, because it's multi-unit homes, and they have a hard time saving that money. So there's a lot of older people in those communities. So what I do is I go out and I give them a roof warranty program. I go out, I change some boots, I check the flashing, I make a list of things that need to be fixed to give that roof warranty program, so they can save that money and not have to spend it all right now when they don't have it, especially. So I've done that at multiple sites. I go through and I evaluate the roof for granule loss and curling of shingles. Usually boot covers, usually they dry rot out, shrink, and they have problems there. So I do the work. I give an evaluation on each building, and I go through and I fix each problem. Then I give them a 2-year warranty, 3-year warranty. It depends on the evaluation and how much repairs there are on it.
In the past 10 to 15 years, we've seen a big trend for metal roofing, and it's not the old style metal roofing where it was ping, ping, ping every time you hear the rain come in. It's dampened. Are you guys doing anything with the metal roofs?
We do a little bit of metal roofing. They do have a product that goes underneath the metal roofing. It's like a cotton batting. It's all it's like an ice and water shield or a grace, and then it has a cotton batting for noise. So and it prevents the panel from sticking to that and really hearing that hard ting, on the roof. The hidden fastener systems are really cool that they have. They have several different products. There is no, like the old school barn, there was a screw every 16 inches, 16 by 3. And now it's a hidden fastener system. It locks over top the fastening system. And there's some really good products out there now for the steel roofing.
But you don't, colors. Right. But you're not just doing roofs. Like, let's talk a little bit about sidings and gutters. Talk about the kind of stuff you guys are doing with that.
We do a little bit of vinyl because a lot of the stuff at the condominiums are repairs from a poor job done on the build. No underlayment, putting bond boards on, backwards Z-flashing, and so we're tearing all that Z-flashing off. We have to redo the decking, sometimes headers. So we do a little bit of that, but I truly believe that no matter what product you're putting on a house, is that the underlayment is one of the most important. If you're going to put foam on, you put the Tyvek on, you tape all the seams. I personally prefer to put hardy board on. Hardy board is fire resistant. It doesn't blow off. It's a product that it comes pre-finished. You can paint the surface, or it comes pre-finished. There's a lot of benefits to having a house that it has hardy board. The pre-finished surfaces that hardy board bakes on at the factory. I've been to their factory in Chicago several times and did their whole thing for, I think, twice now. Been through the factory to see how they process and make their product. I do a lot of hardy board at the condos, so mostly it's painted products. It's just a better look. It's a longer lasting product. They give a 25-year guarantee on the paint that they put on it when you buy their pre-painted stuff.
Oh, wow. Is that
Hardy is good for Michigan.
Is that what's hardy boards? What's its like primary material? Like what's it made out of?
Cement.
Cement. Okay, cement board.
It's cement, silicon and cement. And I didn't know this, but they do make hardy board differently for every hemisphere. Like Michigan's hardy board is made different than Florida's hardy board, or the East Coast or the West Coast hardy board. They have different mixtures of the cement that they use for the different environments, the high heat, and then of course we got high heat, cold, we got everything here. So
right.
But they do make it differently for every different state. And I didn't know that. I thought it was just cement board and you hung it on the house and that's it. But after several visits to Chicago to visit the thing, I'm very well informed about the Hardy. So,
what kind of warranty is coming with the hardy boards?
It's a lifetime warranty on the product, as long as it's installed right, and you're installing it for the most important thing is that you don't have it against the roof. You got to stay off the roof a little bit for wicking purposes, because if you put it on there, it will wick and it will shale. But if you're following all the directions that they give you, you won't have that problem.
Interesting. Go. Do you have to paint it? I was reading somewhere that with hardy board, you got to keep it painted every 10 years or so.
Yeah, 7 to 10 years. But they do it they have the baked on product with many colors, probably 15, 20 colors. And that's the 25-year warranty on that paint, which is a long time. I personally like that. I mean, vinyl, you put the vinyl on 15 years later, it's cracking, the weed whipper's hitting it. You have repairs to do.
It's warping from the heat.
And it's warping. I mean, no matter what product you put on your house, in 15 years, there's going to be something. So I'd rather have a product that I can change the color on, that all I got to do is have it painted, So instead of the whole job redone and all new vinyl on it because it's dry rotted or it's faded, I did it on my house. I changed my whole house to hardy because when I want to change it, I paint it. I hired somebody to come paint it. It's probably a third of the cost or less to have your house painted. You're able to change that color every 10 years, 15 years, instead of doing the whole job over again.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So for a home, I mean, you can go to the big box stores and buy shingles. You can buy siding. For a homeowner thinking, I'll just fix it myself. I got a weekend and my buddies and I'll grab some brews and we'll get this done. What are they not realizing?
I don't think they're realizing, the amount of effort and time it takes to get through a job. I mean, starting a job and finishing a job are two different things. I've always been a finisher. You press yourself to the end, you want to finish it. You always think that when you're doing the job yourself, you're going to get it, bang it out in one day and you're going to get it done. It does not work that way, especially when you don't have the tools, the equipment, the technology, the equipters, to do the job. I've helped on those jobs before, and it's always, we ran out of shingles, we don't have enough cap, or running around wasting their time, and that's something that I've worked very hard is when I do start a job that all the products there, that more than what I would need is there. And then, having the right guys to do it and the right equipment so it's not so hard. So you're not dropping it on the ground and you roof all day and you get sunburned. And then guess what? You have to clean the ground up for 5 hours,
Yeah, right. Exactly. I think a lot of people overestimate the amount of work that actually,
clean up.
Yeah. I think the last roof I installed myself, I try to do 1 or 2 a year. I'm 57 now. I try to still keep myself involved and get my old tail up there and do it. I'm not sure I'll do that anymore. But it's very strenuous in the summertime. You think it's all great until the next day. And then your body's killing you. So I still install myself. I still go out, but I'll do the little repairs, and I'll take my guys out in training. And that's a huge part of my job is to train these guys to understand how to finish that job, how to talk to the customer, how to communicate, and make sure that you have all the product that you need. Your truck is set up the proper way. You're ready for that job. Everybody thinks, oh, I got a roof, I'm going to go do it. No, there's setup, there's prep, there's the hoses, the guns, the compressors, the things that checking all those things out and making sure everything is ready to go is important, because you're wasting time running around when we don't have that hose, or you don't have that hook knife, or you don't have that. Those are the things that the homeowners are really preparing themselves for, that checklist before you start that job. And I have a large warehouse. When I start a large project, I fill the warehouse with product. I make sure I have the staples, for the staple gun, and I make sure that they're not running around wasting their time, because that's lost money in an installer's pocket.
Mm-hmm. What's one project that you see that will deliver the biggest impact for a homeowner when it comes to comfort and energy bills? I had to pick one thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I would have to say that's windows.
Okay.
Because windows are such a huge part. Seals fail, and the appearance of the window is huge. From somebody that has old 1970 windows, and they get their brand new vinyl or their Anderson window or their Pella, and it's just such a huge transformation, because I guess you just don't realize that you're looking through those windows every day. You're opening and closing your blinds. It's the feel of the house is definitely better when you're not looking through an old, dirty, seal blown window that doesn't lock or open, for the security of your family. And then just your everyday looking out that window, I guess you just don't realize until that happens that how nice that can be. So I think that is one of the huger things that people are gonna like. A roof is a roof, it's gonna look great, it's a good job, but the window you're gonna touch, feel, open, close, that's your air. I think the window, a nice window install with some new trim, and the outside's nicely trimmed and caulked, is probably one of the bigger windows and doors is probably one of the bigger, thing for a homeowner.
Yeah, that's a good point. You're looking at them every single day. It's curb appeal, it's energy efficiency. And
ticks all the boxes. Actually, going back to those hardy board siding, does that offer any type of R value being cement?
I don't think it has any R value to it, because it's cement transfers. Right. But like again, I said, the underlayment, and there's no siding that's waterproof. There's seams on everything, but the underlayment and the prep of the job before you hang that siding, vinyl or hardy, is very important to have. The Z flashing over the windows for water tread. You're not depending on caulk on those horizontal surfaces that water sits on, snow sits on. You have to have those metal flashings over top the windows, any bond boards. If you're depending on caulk to hold the water out, it's not going to hold it out for very long. The caulk dries up, and shrinks. So I feel that with the proper preparation on anything, taping of the Tyvek and counter flashing, Z flashing is very important for every aspect of siding. If you don't prep for that and you're just throwing it up there, you're going to have problems down the road.
How do you go about choosing the right materials when a customer calls you? Because I was reading on your website, you guys are Owens Corning preferred, is that right? And Certainty certified, is that correct?
Yep, Certainty is certified. Yeah, and Owens Corning, but the majority of our stuff is Certainty.
Okay, can you explain that to me? What does that actually mean? In layman's terms.
Certified means that that certainty. We went to their class. We learned about their product. We know what it's made of. We know what granule loss is. We know the nail pattern, the reinforced nail pattern, where we're nailing that shingle. We're not high nailing. We're not low nailing. There's a strip on the shingle that you have to hit that. It's supposed to be 5 nails in a shingle. And you have to hit that strip because it's going through the shingle you're installing and through the top of the shingle, the last shingle you laid. So now each shingle is getting double nailed, and it's not going to blow off. So they went through all their procedures and felt comfortable about certifying us. So just knowing everything about your product before you put it on and be able to answer questions is kind of important to people. So.
Yeah, I think that's a huge thing. Like, you're not just Joe in a truck. You're actually investing in future knowledge for yourself and your crew.
It is, a lot of people, I've been in this business a very long time and worked for a lot of the bigger companies. High pressure sales is not my thing. A lot of people, is your wife there? You got to sign now. This deal's going to go away. And my competitors do that still. I do not. I give them their price. I give them all the information that they could possibly need. And a lot of people, let's be honest, a lot of people, they're researching you and your product before you even get there. So if you don't know your product when you walk in that door, they do. They've read about it. They're researching it. They're going to spend tens of thousands of dollars. And with technology and the computers, everybody's an expert. So if you don't really prepare yourself to answer those questions, I think you're going to fail. And then a high pressure salesman to me is, I've kicked many out of my house in the past. I feel that an honest price and a little bit of room for the customer, and then maybe invite them up to the shop, show them your facility, show them that you're serious, show them that you have a full office staff and you're willing to stand behind your work for a long time is important. So, I have, every job we sell is a non-high pressure. It's more about informing them of what you're about to do for them than anything.
It's not often, but on jobs sometimes, unexpected costs come up. You might be taking the roof off and you find something that pops up that needs to be fixed. How do you handle pricing and transparency with the homeowner?
Usually I put a disclosure on the end of it. With roofing, it's usually plywood, and so I put a cost on that plywood. I say I cover up to this many sheets, and anything after these sheets is a $70 charge per piece of plywood. I try to keep it very reasonable. I have to pay my installer a certain amount of money.
Absolutely.
When it comes to siding, you can run into some huge problems. Ripping off chimneys is one of the things with the flashing, or they didn't pull the flash cards out at the sides of the chimney, and it just dumped down the inside for years. So I cover myself by just letting them know that if there's any additional framing, unforeseen problems, that it would be a lineal cost. And I've worked really hard for the last 3 years to make sure that I have a lineal cost for everything. So I'll give them that lineal cost for framing. I'll give them, for 2x4s, for 2x6s, and for 2x. So I basically have that figured out all the way through. So it's not a huge surprise to them,
That's good. Good transparency. Yeah. And I think you're building that trust already. The way you're handling, all the business from, doing the quotation up through, even cleanup.
Yeah, it's real important. The thing is with condominiums and the stuff I do for them is that there's several managers and several boards. And I ran into the past, why did you charge this much for a door here when you give, Bob, the manager over here, you did it for this. So, and I said, you're right, so I did. I call it my Bible. I have a huge punch list of things that I do and amounts that I charge. And it's the same for everybody. It's the same for the condos as it is for the residential people. There is no markup because the guy has a BMW. You know what I mean? There might be a markup.
Yeah, that's great.
Because his roof is a 12 pitch and it's 3 stories off the ground. But there really is no gouging. I don't allow any of my salespeople to gouge. You stick to the book. You don't gouge people, and you get more work.
Right.
You're making a killing on one job. because you want to make the salesman wants to make a bigger commission is really, I feel it's dishonest to people.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's really great. I think that's something that would resonate with a homeowner for sure. That's
Yeah. An honest price, honest job, and accountability is it's everything. Like my dad always told me, he said, Leon, you can do the best job in the world, but if you leave a mess in their yard, it's ruined. You've ruined the contact because that's their living space. That's where they're at. That's where their kids were playing. That's where the dog is running. So if you don't care, you can do a great job, but if you leave a huge mess for people, chances are they won't be calling you again. So I have customers that call me I had a customer call me, hey Leon, I know you did my roof, but I was really hoping you could help me hang my TV. And of course, he's a great guy. So I said, yeah, I'll get one of my guys over. I have several guys. I'll get my guys over, and we're going to help you put your TV over your fireplace, because he doesn't know how to run those wires, in through the fireplace. And so I told him I'd help him out. But you gain this relationship with people, and you really become their guy. Same as the condominiums, the little old ladies that chase me with the cookies, and because I've done work in there forever, and I've got customers that every time they see me, they're chasing me down and got questions for me, of course, about a draft here or a draft there, but they always chase me down, and they're always looking to give me something, which is hilarious, I think. But I think it's a reflection upon me caring about their situation.
Right.
And I try to make that resonate with my residential people too. I mean, I'm very disappointed if a job goes bad. I'm upset, and I'm very disappointed that job went bad because of whatever may happen. But the thing is, and it's just like I tell the boards when I go to the board meetings, it's like, I'm going to sit here and tell you I'm perfect and nothing's going to happen, or nothing bad's going to happen. But I can tell you one thing is that I will be back to fix it. And it's going to be immediate. And so I'm going to drop everything I got going on. I'm going to come back, and I'm going to make sure that you get taken care of. May it be fixing it and giving you a little money back, then it is what it is. Whatever's going to make them happy. Because I feel if you're a professional, those mistakes should be minimal. And when you make a mistake, they're hiring you not to make mistakes. They're hiring a professional. So when you do make a mistake, I feel like it should be paid back. And I think that's the way I keep my star rating up. I try not to, disappoint anybody, or argue or make any bad decisions on my part. So.
Yeah, that's good. That's good points.
We're all humans. We all make mistakes. We try to minimize that as much as possible, obviously. But yeah, when you can make it right, that goes miles for the customer.
It does. It really does. I don't know. I haven't given many $500 bills back in the last 2 or 3 years, but if it happens, somebody's upset, I have no problem giving it back to them. So
that's great policy. It's showing homeowners that you care enough after the job to make sure it was done right, and to check on it, and to make sure that you've met and exceeded their expectations. It's perfect. That's how you run a business.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I've hired managers. I have people in my office that take projects that I can't handle them all. So I have 3 managers that manage projects for me and do the same thing I do. And I make sure that they understand the way I want it ran. I make sure I understand when something goes wrong, what happens. Pulling permits. I mean, for God's sake, just pull the permit. That was the problem with the gentleman I was talking about earlier. They charged him $19,000 for 20 square, and they turned around and they didn't pull a permit. They messed his roof up. It had humps in it. I fixed it for him, and he was trying to ask me, well, should I pay them? I'm like, well, I think they deserve something. They did the job. I said, but I think you should call them and explain to them that you didn't follow procedure. You didn't pull your permit. I mean, for God's sake, the permit's not that much money. And nowadays with technology, it's just about taking the pictures when you tear the roof off. You take the pictures of the decking, you take the pictures of the prep, the underlayment, the prep, and then you put the shingles on. And then they come out and they give it one-time inspection, and you're done. It isn't like it's going to take the personas that, they're gonna waste my time. They're gonna make me wait, and it's really not the way it is anymore. So, It's just a lot of pictures and the communication. Everything's done online. You can send the pictures right to their email, the inspector's email. You can see, what's going on with everything. So pulling the permit and not trying to be sneaky about a $250 permit is vital, I think, to have a permit. So, yeah.
What should homeowners ask their contractors before they sign a contract?
License, insurance, and maybe some referrals. Referrals go a long way. I have a long list of referrals. The condominiums, when I go to the board meeting, I bring them with me, and I hand out my referrals. These are sites that I've done. That way they can go out and see, touch, feel the product, the quality of the job on jobs that I've done in the past. And, some of the referrals are 5-6 years old. It's like, well, go out there and see how it looks after 5 years, Yeah. That tells a lot about an install.
What would you say to a homeowner who's putting off a repair or an upgrade, and it's because they're worried about disruption or maybe cost? What do how do you ease their mind?
Well, obviously if it's a roof, then a roof is one of the most important parts of your house. You definitely don't want it. Can cause many different things, mold. So I just try to tell them, we have financing for people. I've worked really hard on getting the lower interest financing. There is a charge for the financing. I don't hide that from anybody. I just tell them what the charge is, and this is the cost of your roof, and this is the charge of the financing. And a lot of people are willing to do that. I don't do a ton of them myself. A lot of my customers are usually save for it, but I think you should save for it. But I think you should have the evaluation done on your roof. That's what I feel like when I'm going to do an estimate. I'm not doing an estimate. I'm doing an evaluation of your house. You asked me out here to look at your house and tell you the problems that you have. And then if you don't have the money for the job, again, then I have other options for you. We can do some repairs to your house to buy you the few years to save that money. A lot of people don't want to put it on their credit card, don't want to put it, have a 9% loan on their house. So I do try to evaluate, and I ask those questions. How did you have you saved for this investment into your house? Because really, it's an investment in your house. Your house is your biggest investment. So by keeping it up to code, keeping everything right on your house, you really that's your main investment. And I think it's so important that your house stays up to par, especially when it comes to roofing and siding. It can roofing and siding, when there's leaks, it can cause mold, wet insulation, a deterioration of framework and walls. It can turn into a nightmare for some people. Some people just ignore it and and then next thing you know, they have all these huge bills and litigation for mold, and it can turn into a nightmare. So I do try to just give a good evaluation of their house. Ask them some questions about their plans that they made to pay for this, and see where they stand. And if I can do some repairs and buy them a few years, then I will.
That's awesome. So where can homeowners in Southeast Michigan learn more, book a free estimate? How can they get a hold of you?
You can call the company number, 586-222-8111. Schedule an appointment, and then I'll have a representative out there to do your free evaluation.
Nice. And if they're planning on baking you cookies, what cookies do you want them to bake?
Chocolate chip's the best cookies. So peanut butter chocolate chip. I really don't like the energy drinks or anything, so the juices are fine.
All right, we just want to make sure as all the old ladies are bringing out the cookies to make sure that they're ones you're going to actually want.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I have one little old lady. She brings me the windmill cookies from the old school.
Nice.
Windmill cookies. Yes.
Yeah.
That's her trademark.
So thanks. Thank you so much for everything that you told us today. That is a lot of information to digest, man.
It is. When you live it your whole life, you got a lot up there in your head to talk about.
Awesome.
But I appreciate you guys having me on.
Awesome.
Thanks for the time. Appreciate it.
Thanks, man. For everyone listening, if you're thinking about a roof, siding, or any exterior upgrade, the biggest takeaway today is don't just hire a price, hire a process. Hire a company that's willing to explain the work, stand behind it, and be there when the project is finished. If you'd like to learn more about Leon and his team at My Quality Construction or request a free inspection or estimate, you can find them online at mqcmi.com. That's mqcmi.com. Or you can always go to the americashomeexperts.com website where you'll find them as well. And if you want to discover more trusted contractors featured on this show, visit us at americashomeexperts.com, your home to finding America's most trusted home experts.